Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel. Before we dive into today's story, we just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you all for watching. We truly appreciate your support. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, it's totally free, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest stories. Now, with all that said, let's jump straight into the story.
The streetlights of Tokyo hummed a monotonous tune, casting pools of amber light on the rain-slicked asphalt. Kaido shivered, pulling his collar higher. He was late getting home from his cram school, and the desolate streets felt heavier than usual tonight. He was just turning onto his familiar narrow lane when he saw her. She stood under the sickly glow of a distant streetlight, her back to him. Her long, black hair cascaded down her shoulders, almost veiling her entirely. Even from this distance, there was something unsettling about her stillness. As Kaido approached, he heard a soft, almost mournful sound like a whispered sigh. He wanted to veer away to pretend he hadn't seen her, but something, a morbid curiosity perhaps, compelled him forward. He was almost upon her when she turned. The lower half of her face was concealed by a surgical mask, stark white against her pallid skin. Her eyes, however, were captivating, pools of dark, liquid obsidian that seemed to swallow the meager light around them. "Excuse me," she said, her voice a low, breathy rasp that sent a shiver crawling down Kaido's spine. "Do you think I am beautiful?" Kaido's mind froze. He remembered the whispered tales, the urban legend his classmates had recounted with nervous laughter. The Kuchisake-onna, the Slit-Mouthed Woman. He wanted to run, to scream, but his feet were rooted to the spot. He suddenly understood the paralyzing fear that folklore often described. This wasn't just a story, this was real. He stammered, his voice barely a whisper. "Well." The woman's eyes narrowed slightly. "Answer me honestly," she insisted, taking a step closer. The smell of antiseptic, sharp and clinical, wafted towards him from beneath the mask. Kaido's mind raced. He knew the legend. If he said yes, she would reveal her disfigurement and ask again, leading to a gruesome end. If he said no, she might simply kill him. Thinking quickly, he remembered something else from the stories, a loophole, a possible way out. "You're average," he choked out, carefully choosing his words. "You're not ugly, but you're not exceptionally beautiful either. You're just normal." The woman paused, her dark eyes scrutinizing him, seemingly weighing his answer. For a long, agonizing moment, nothing happened. Kaido held his breath, every muscle in his body tense. He could feel the cold sweat trickling down his back. Then a flicker of something, amusement? Disappointment? Crossed her face. She slowly reached up and removed the mask. The sight that greeted him was even more horrifying than he had imagined. Her mouth was slashed from ear to ear, the raw, gaping wound a grotesque parody of a smile. The edges were puckered and scarred, a testament to the brutality she had endured. "Am I beautiful now?" she hissed, her voice now raspy and laced with an unsettlingly sweet, almost childish glee. Kaido held his ground, his heart pounding in his chest. This was it. He knew the next response was critical. "You're terrifying," he said, his voice trembling but steady. He focused on her eyes, trying to project bravery, even though his legs felt like jelly. "You're a monster." He expected a swift, violent reaction. He braced himself for the inevitable. But instead, the woman recoiled slightly, her expression flickering between fury and something akin to sadness. The corners of her mutilated mouth twitched. "Monster," she whispered, the word catching in her throat. She looked away, her gaze drifting towards the rain-slicked street. For a long, silent moment, she stood there, seemingly forgotten. Then, with a sigh that seemed to carry the weight of years of pain and resentment, she turned and melted back into the shadows, disappearing into the darkness as quickly and silently as she had appeared. Kaido stood there, frozen, until the silence finally broke. He took a shaky breath, then another, feeling the blood slowly returning to his face. He didn't run. He didn't scream. He simply walked home, his mind reeling, the image of the slit-mouthed woman and her terrifying question seared into his memory. He knew he wouldn't forget her. He knew the streets of Tokyo would never feel the same. He had faced the Kuchisake-onna and he had survived. But a part of him wondered if he had truly escaped unscathed, or if a piece of her horror would forever cling to him, a constant reminder of the monster he had encountered in the lonely, rain-soaked night. Time for the next story. Guys, if you liked that last story, please don't forget to leave a like. Thank you. The wind howled a mournful song through the bamboo grove, its sharp edges whispering secrets in the rustling leaves. Hana wrapped her worn kimono tighter, the chill seeping into her bones far deeper than the autumn air could account for. She clutched the small hand-carved Jizo statue, its smooth stone offering a small comfort against the growing dread churning in her stomach. She was nearing the abandoned shrine. Everyone in the village warned her against it, spoke of the tragic events that had befallen the Nakamura family, the shrine's caretakers, a generation ago. They whispered of a Yūrei, a restless spirit tied to the land, forever seeking solace she could never find. Hana, however, had no choice. Her grandfather, fading fast, had pleaded with her to return to the shrine, to offer incense and prayers for the departed, to finally bring peace to the troubled spirit of Ika Nakamura. As she stepped onto the overgrown path leading to the shrine, the air grew thick and heavy. The vibrant greens of the bamboo faded to muted shades of gray. An unnatural silence fell, broken only by the frantic beating of her own heart. The shrine itself was a skeletal frame against the darkening sky, its once proud torii gate half collapsed, its paper screens torn and flapping like tattered wings. Hana felt a prickling sensation on her skin, the distinct feeling of being watched. She walked towards the crumbling altar, her gaze darting nervously around the courtyard. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decay, and something else, a faint, sweet fragrance of cherry blossoms, clinging to the air like a mournful memory. Gathering her courage, she lit the incense sticks she had brought. The smoke spiraled upwards, a fragile thread connecting the earthly realm with the unseen. As she lowered her head in prayer, a low, almost inaudible sob echoed around her. Hana froze, her blood turning to ice. "Aiko-san," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The sound of weeping intensified, closer now. A swirling mist began to coalesce in the center of the courtyard, slowly taking shape. Hana could see her then, the Yūrei of Ika Nakamura. She was a vision of tragic beauty. Her long, black hair flowed around her like a shroud, obscuring her face. Her white kimono was stained with what looked like dried blood. Pale hands, limp and lifeless, hung at her sides. And in her heart, where a living woman's warmth would reside, floated two ethereal flames, burning with an unending sadness. Aiko's head slowly lifted, revealing a face etched with pain and confusion. Empty, black eyes stared directly at Hana, sending a shiver down her spine. Why have you come?" Aiko's voice was a hollow whisper, like the rustling of dry leaves. Hana, terrified but determined, knelt and bowed her head. "I came to offer prayers for your peace, Aiko-san. My grandfather asked me to. He knew your family." Aiko swayed slightly as if buffeted by a phantom wind. "Peace? There is no peace. My family, they were taken, by bandits. They burned the shrine, killed them all, and me." Her voice cracked, the flames in her chest flickering wildly. Hana understood. Aiko's spirit was trapped, not by the place itself, but by the unfinished business of her death, the injustice, the pain. "I understand," Hana said, her voice trembling. "But there is justice now. The bandits are long gone. Their crimes are known. The shrine, though damaged, still stands. Let go of the anger, Aiko-san. Let go of the pain. You deserve peace." Aiko remained silent, her empty eyes fixed on Hana. The scent of cherry blossoms intensified, then faded, replaced by the sharp odor of blood. I cannot," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "They took everything. They stole my future. I cannot rest until they are punished." Hana looked at the Yūrei, at the heartbreaking scene of grief and rage that was Ika Nakamura. She knew that simply offering prayers wouldn't be enough. She had to do something more, something tangible to appease the spirit and help her find peace. Taking a deep breath, Hana made a decision. "Then I will help you, Aiko-san. I will find their descendants. I will make them atone for the sins of their ancestors. I will bring justice to your family even now." Aiko's eyes widened, the ghostly flames in her chest burning brighter, a flicker of hope igniting within the darkness. You would do that for me?" "I would," Hana said with a newfound determination. "I owe it to you and to my grandfather who remembers your family with such sorrow." For a long moment, Aiko remained silent, her spectral form wavering. Then, slowly, imperceptibly, her features softened. The anger in her eyes began to fade, replaced by a fragile, almost childlike trust. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice gaining a hint of warmth. "Thank you, please, bring me peace." As Hana nodded, Aiko began to fade. The swirling mist dissipated, the scent of cherry blossoms returned, sweeter and lighter this time. The pressure in the air lifted, and a gentle breeze rustled through the bamboo grove. Hana stood alone in the courtyard, the setting sun casting long, dancing shadows. she knew her journey had just begun. It would be long and difficult, uncovering the truth and seeking justice for a tragedy that happened generations ago. But as she turned and walked away from the abandoned shrine, she felt a sense of purpose she had never known before. The wind whispered her name, not with a mournful cry, but with a gentle sigh of hope. Hana knew, deep in her heart, that Aiko Nakamura could finally begin to find the peace she so desperately deserved. And Hana would make sure she got it. The Yūrei's restless spirit had found its champion, and the quest for justice had begun. Time for the next story. Guys, if you liked that last story, please don't forget to leave a like. Thank you. The last train rattled past the small, deserted station in Akihabara. Hideo, a bored janitor, swept the platform, the rhythmic swish of his broom a lonely counterpoint to the city's distant hum. It was well past midnight, and the chill of autumn bit at his exposed skin. He longed for his warm apartment and a cup of green tea. He was just about to head inside when he heard it. A faint, rhythmic scraping sound, coming from down the platform near the darkened entrance. At first, he dismissed it as the wind whistling through a gap in the old wooden siding. But the sound persisted, clearer now, a distinct teek teek, teek teek. Hideo paused, his hand gripping the broom handle tighter. He'd heard stories, whispered in hushed tones amongst the other workers. Stories of the teek teek, a vengeful spirit of a schoolgirl, crushed beneath a train years ago. They said she crawled on her elbows and torso, her movement creating the chilling teek teek sound as her jagged bones scraped against the ground. He scoffed internally. Superstition. Old wives' tales. Still, a shiver ran down his spine. He peered into the darkness, trying to see past the shadows cast by the single flickering lamppost. "Hello," he called out, his voice barely above a whisper. Silence. The scraping started again, closer this time. Fear, raw and primal, gripped Hideo. He knew he should run, but his feet felt rooted to the spot. He told himself it was just his imagination playing tricks on him. He forced himself to take a step forward, then another. The teek-teek sound grew louder, more insistent. He strained his eyes, trying to penetrate the inky blackness. And then he saw it. A small figure, hunched low to the ground, moving impossibly fast down the tracks. She wore what looked like a tattered school uniform, dark and stained. He couldn't see her face, only a mass of tangled, dark hair obscuring her features. But he could see the movement, the unnatural way she propelled herself forward using her arms, the scraping sound echoing off the platform walls. Terror seized him. This was no ghost story. This was real. He finally found his legs and turned to run, his heart hammering against his ribs. He scrambled back towards the station building, fumbling with the keys in his trembling hands. He managed to unlock the door and slammed it shut behind him, fumbling with the bolt. He leaned against the door, panting, his eyes wide with fear. The teek-teek sound was right outside, scratching at the wood, a desperate, frantic rhythm. He knew she was there. He could feel her malevolent presence, a cold, suffocating dread that filled the small station. He pressed his ear against the door, listening, praying she would just go away. Then the scraping stopped. Hideo held his breath, hardly daring to move. Had she given up? Was he safe? A new sound replaced the teek-teek. A soft, almost childlike whimper, followed by a voice, barely audible through the thick wood. Where are my legs? Hideo froze. The voice was filled with such pain, such heartbreaking sorrow, that it momentarily pierced through his terror. For a fleeting instant, he felt a pang of sympathy for the tormented spirit. But that sympathy was quickly replaced by chilling realization. He knew what she wanted. He peeked through the grimy window, his eyes scanning the platform. She was gone. He let out a shaky breath, thinking he might be safe. He started to turn away when he noticed something. A shadow. Behind him. He whirled around, a scream caught in his throat. The teek-teek was inside the station, her body a twisted, grotesque parody of a human form. Her long, black hair was matted and greasy, her eyes burning with an unholy light. She was closer than he thought possible, her arms outstretched, reaching for him. He knew, with chilling certainty, that he was about to become another victim of her endless, agonizing search. He braced himself for the pain, for the shearing, rending agony. But before she could reach him, the first train of the morning roared past the station, its bright headlights illuminating the scene. The screeching of the brakes was deafening. The teek-teek recoiled, hissing like a cornered animal. She couldn't stand the light, the noise, the reminder of her own horrific demise. With a final ear-splitting screech, she retreated back into the shadows, disappearing as quickly as she had appeared. Hideo collapsed to the floor, trembling uncontrollably. He was alive, but he knew he would never be the same. He would forever be haunted by the chilling sound of Teke Teke, Teke Teke, and the haunting question in her voice, where are my legs? He knew with a certainty that chilled him to the bone that she would be back. The Teke Teke never rests. Her vengeance knows no bounds. And she would be waiting in the shadows for the next unsuspecting soul to cross her path. Time for the next story. Guys, if you liked that last story, please don't forget to leave a like. Thank you. The mountain mist clung to Ren's face, cold and damp. He adjusted the worn strap of his wood-gathering pack, the weight digging into his shoulder. His stomach rumbled, a discordant counterpoint to the whispering trees. For 3 days he'd been searching for a rare type of maple, its heartwood crimson and prized for crafting ceremonial bows. He was lost, hungry, and starting to feel the prickle of unease that came with venturing too deep into forgotten places. He stumbled upon a clearing bathed in an ethereal, almost unnatural light. In the center stood a waterfall cascading into a crystalline pool, the water shimmering with an iridescent sheen. Ren had never seen anything so breathtaking. He forgot his hunger, his exhaustion, and the growing dread. Leaning against a moss-covered boulder near the pool was a woman. She was unlike anyone he had ever encountered. Her hair was a midnight waterfall that cascaded down her back, each strand shimmering with an oil-slick iridescence. Her skin was smooth and pale like polished ivory, and her eyes were the color of molten gold, flecked with sparks of amber. She hummed a melody that seemed to vibrate through the very air, a siren song that resonated deep within his bones. Lost traveler? Her voice was like wind chimes, delicate and alluring. Ren, mesmerized, could only nod. Come, sit. You look weary. I can offer you comfort. She gestured to a patch of soft moss beside her. He obeyed, every rational thought dissolving in the presence of her beauty. She brought forth a tray laden with delicacies he hadn't seen in years, succulent roasted pheasant, plump rice cakes drizzled with honey, and sake that tasted like sunshine and forgetfulness. As he ate, she told stories of ancient spirits, of hidden pathways through the mountains, and of the secrets whispered by the wind. Her words were captivating, her laughter infectious. Ren found himself confiding in her, revealing his dreams of becoming a master bowyer, the struggles of his family, the loneliness that gnawed at his heart. He felt a warmth spread through him, not just from the sake, but from the sincere interest she showed. He was seen, understood, valued. It was a long time since he had felt such a connection. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of violet and blood orange, she placed a hand on his, her touch sending a shiver down his spine. Stay the night, she purred, her golden eyes holding him captive. I have a comfortable place prepared for you. We can talk more in the morning. He nodded, completely under her spell. She led him to a small cave tucked behind the waterfall, where a bed of soft furs and woven blankets awaited. He lay down, the scent of jasmine and something else, something subtly earthy and unsettling, filling his nostrils. He drifted to sleep, dreams filled with her golden eyes and melodious voice. Then he woke with a jolt. A cold, sharp pain ripped through his legs. He tried to move, but his limbs were heavy, strangely bound. Panic flooded him. He looked down. He was entangled in threads, not of silk or hemp, but something stronger, far more resilient. Thick, glistening strands that pulsed with a faint, inner light. They were spider silk. His eyes snapped open and he saw her. She wasn't the beautiful woman he had been mesmerized by. The illusion had shattered. Her face was now a grotesque mask, her skin splitting to reveal chitinous plates. Her eyes, still golden but now multifaceted and predatory, gleamed with malevolent hunger. From the shadows of the cave, her true form was revealed. Her torso remained humanoid, but below, her body transformed into the immense, segmented abdomen of a monstrous spider. 8 hairy legs, tipped with razor-sharp claws, clicked against the stone floor. A Jorōgumo, the spider-woman of the mountains, who lured men with beauty and devoured them whole. He tried to scream, but the spider silk had already wrapped around his mouth, silencing him. Her voice, now raspy and guttural, echoed through the cave. You were delicious, but your kind is all the same. Weak. Easily fooled. He watched in horror as she advanced, her mandibles glistening with venom. He could only imagine the agonizing moments to come. As she lunged, he thought of his family, his dreams, the crimson maple he had so desperately sought. All gone, extinguished by the deceit of a spider woman in a beautiful, deadly clearing. The mountain mist thickened, shrouding the waterfall and the clearing in an impenetrable shroud. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying a faint echo of a woman's laugh, and the faint, unsettling scent of jasmine and death. The cycle would continue, another unsuspecting man lured to his doom by the Jorōgumo, the spider woman of the mountains. And the crimson maple, somewhere hidden in the deep woods, remained untouched, its secret safe. Time for the next story. Guys, if you liked that last story, please don't forget to leave a like. Thank you. The fluorescent lights of the women's restroom in the old school building hummed, casting a sickly yellow glow on the cracked tiles. Maya, a timid but determined student journalist, had staked out the space for hours, armed with a notepad and a growing sense of unease. She was chasing a story, Aka Manto, the Red Cloak, the phantom tormentor of public toilets. Legend had it that Aka Manto haunted these very stalls. If you were alone, he'd appear and ask a chilling question: do you want red paper or blue paper? Choose red and you'd be violently flayed, your blood staining the toilet red. Choose blue, and you'd be strangled, turning your skin a ghastly blue hue. Some whispered of other, even darker, fates. Maya scoffed at the legend when she first heard it. Just a local urban myth, she thought. But then the student council president had gone missing after using this very restroom. The official explanation was a sudden family emergency, but rumors swirled, fueled by hushed whispers and nervous glances in the halls. Maya couldn't ignore it. The bathroom door creaked open and Maya flinched. It was just Mrs. Ito, the elderly janitor, pushing her cleaning cart. "Long night, Maya-chan?" Mrs. Ito asked, her voice raspy. "Just working on a story," Maya mumbled, feeling a little foolish. Mrs. Ito sighed, her gaze lingering on the stall furthest from the door. "Be careful with those stories, child. Some things are better left undisturbed." She shuffled past, the clatter of her cleaning supplies echoing in the silence. Maya forced herself to focus. She had to prove that Aka Manto was nothing more than a figment of panicked imaginations. She continued scribbling in her notepad, analyzing the chipped paint and the faint smell of bleach. Suddenly, the lights flickered, plunging the room into a brief, unsettling darkness. Maya's heart pounded. When the lights returned, they were dimmer, casting long, distorted shadows. Then she heard it. A soft whisper, seemingly coming from the stall farthest away, the one Mrs. Ito had stared at. "Do you want red paper or blue paper?" Maya's breath caught in her throat. Her hand trembled so violently she could barely grip the pen. This couldn't be happening. It had to be a prank, a recording, anything but. She swallowed hard, trying to regain her composure. "Who's there?" she called out, her voice shaking. The whisper came again, closer this time, almost as if it were right behind her. "Red paper or blue paper?" Panic seized her. Maya knew she had to escape. But she couldn't move, frozen in place by a primal fear. She squeezed her eyes shut, praying for it to be over. Then a new voice cut through the eerie silence. "Leave her alone, Aka Manto." Maya opened her eyes to see Mrs. Ito standing in the doorway, her usually frail frame radiating an unexpected strength. In her hand she held a worn, leather-bound book. "You have no power here, spirit," Mrs. Ito shouted, opening the book. Words, written in elegant calligraphy, glowed faintly on the page. The whispering stopped. The shadows seemed to shrink. The air grew colder, then warmer, then returned to normal. Slowly, the oppressive atmosphere began to dissipate. The lights flickered once more, then stabilized. The restroom was just a restroom again, a slightly dirty, slightly depressing place. Maya was shaking, but she was alive. What was that?" she stammered. Mrs. Ito closed the book, her expression grave. "Aka Manto is real, child. He feeds on fear and uncertainty. He's been trapped here for a long time, sustained by the school's history and the students' anxieties. But why? He was a student once. A victim of bullying, driven to despair in this very bathroom. He sought revenge and now he's trapped, repeating his torment, trying to draw others into his misery." Mrs. Ito explained that for years she had been working to contain Aka Manto, using the book, a collection of ancient rituals and protective prayers, to keep him at bay. The student council president hadn't disappeared. He had been lured away by Aka Manto and trapped in a pocket dimension. Maya, now armed with the truth, used her journalistic skills to expose the school's dark history and the real reason for the council president's emergency. She brought the darkness into the light, forcing the faculty to acknowledge the problem and implement new safety measures. The story of Aka Manto didn't vanish. Instead, it became a cautionary tale, a reminder that even in the most mundane places, shadows can lurk, and that sometimes the greatest weapon against fear is knowledge and the courage to stand up to it. And Maya, thanks to Mrs. Ito, had found that courage in the most unlikely of places, a haunted restroom.
Ready for spine-chilling tales that will haunt your thoughts. Subscribe to Forgotten Storyteller for eerie narrations, unsettling mysteries, and haunting stories you won't forget. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a story, because some stories refuse to stay buried. Join us, if you dare.